I'm Lorri Unumb. Thanks for checking out this episode of Life with the Spectrum. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll always see the newest episodes when they come out.
Welcome to Life with the Spectrum. I'm Gina Cavalli, and a little fun fact about the behind the scenes here at Life with the Spectrum is sometimes I work for months to grab you special guests. Because of scheduling conflicts or life itself, it just takes forever to get them on. And I am so proud to introduce to you Lorri Unumb. Lorri is an internationally known advocate for autism and the CEO of the Council of Autism Service Providers. Hi, Lorri.
Hi, Gina. How are you?
I'm so good today. I'm so glad that we finally got you on the show.
Me too. Glad to be here. Thank you for your patience working with my crazy schedule.
Well, you are a busy woman. So first off, tell the viewers a little bit about what we call CASP, which is the Council for Autism Service Providers, but they call it CASP for short. What is it that you do?
Yeah, so I have been running CASP for about 3.5 years. CASP is the International Trade Association that autism provider groups belong to. So if your child goes to Behavioral Innovations as an organization is a member of CASP. If your child, like mine, goes to the Unumb Center for Neurodevelopment, the Unumb Center for Neurodevelopment is a member of CASP. So there are not individuals who are members, just the organizations themselves. And our mission is to cultivate and advocate for and share best practices in provider services for people with autism.
So it means that nobody's really competing with each other. They just really want to do what's best for everyone, right?
Exactly. Within CASP, we're really big about fostering a collaborative environment, not a competitive environment. Because you and I both know, Gina, sadly, there are more than enough people with autism to go around who need help. There are waiting lists all over for people trying to get in to get therapy and to get diagnoses. And so from the beginning, I've said, y'all, there is no reason for businesses to feel competitive with each other. Let's help each other, and a rising tide lifts all boats. Our goal is to make sure that all of these organizations are able to provide the highest quality, most sustainable services to people with autism.
I love what you're doing here. You're actually essentially putting business to business, right? B2B. So say, for instance, there's an autism provider on the West Coast and they have a family moving to the East Coast. They could say, you know what? Hold on, wait. Because we're members of CASP, we can actually turn you on to behavioral therapists there or another organization, right?
Actually, I mean, exactly. And that actually happens all the time. People will come on to our listserv and say, hey, I'm serving this great family, but they're moving to Idaho. Do we have any Idaho providers on here who could take in this family? Or they'll say, I've had this wonderful RBT who's been working for me for years, but her family is moving to Maine. Is anybody looking for a good RBT? So the connection is amazing. You kind of wonder why there hadn't been this kind of collaboration before between the businesses, but I think it just, it was an idea whose time had come. And the CASP has actually been around as a conference for more than a decade, but for the first 7 or 8 years, all the executives did was get together every January and have a conference where they just learn new things and shared strategies with each other about how to run their autism provider organization. And it wasn't until 2015 that the founders of that conference decided, hey, let's go ahead and make this official. Like, we should actually incorporate and become an official trade association. We're a nonprofit. And so that really kicked off in 2016. The conference was founded by about a dozen executives who, again, just wanted to sit down together and share strategies. The organization, the association, had probably 70 to 75 organizations as members when I came in 2019, but now we've grown to over 300 autism provider organizations who make up CASP, and it's a really strong, vibrant community.
Lorri, what made you want to join CASP as their CEO? I mean, you have a laundry list of accomplishments, from being at the DOJ to running the Unumb Neurodiversity Clinic, which we'll get into in just a minute. But like, what made you want to dive into CASP as their CEO?
It's a great question, Gina. I actually, at the time, was working for Autism Speaks, and I had been, I was at, I was at Autism Speaks for over a decade, and I was the national head of state government affairs. So I oversaw government affairs in all 50 states with a wonderful team, and I loved it. I loved what I was doing. I had spent that entire decade working primarily to pass autism insurance mandate legislation in state after state after state. But in 2019 is when the 50th state came on board. And so in some ways I felt like, it's a never-ending task, but I felt like I had kind of accomplished what I came to Autism Speaks to work on. And CASP reached out to me and said, we've had an executive director, but she had a child diagnosed with cancer, and so she had to step back from work. And they said, would you like to come on as our new CEO? And initially I was kind of like, well, no, I don't think so. I'm not a provider, so that doesn't make sense. But really, then I thought about it, and I was like, this actually, I think, maybe does make sense, because I've spent the last decade of my life trying to pass legislation so that there will be funding for autism services through health insurance. And so now it feels kind of like the right next professional step to work with the providers and make sure that that funding is utilized the way it was intended. Because anytime there's a brand new funding stream, especially through health insurance, you might see people come into the market who have no background in autism and, just see it as a funding opportunity. And I wanted to make sure that didn't happen, right? I'm an autism parent. And so even though I'm not a provider, I'm not clinically trained, I am interested in ensuring that quality services continue and that the funding is not abused.
It sounds to me like CASP got the right gal. And when we get back, we're going to find out all about Lorri's Neurodevelopment Center. I believe it's in South Carolina. Stay with me.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lear Gilmars. Thanks to our friends at...
Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm Gina Cavalli, and here with me today is the CEO, Lorri Unumb of CASP, which stands for the Council of Autism Service Providers here. And she is also running the Unumb Neurodevelopment Center, correct? Is that in South Carolina, Lorri?
It is in South Carolina, but one small correction, I don't actually run it.
Okay.
My husband and I founded it. It's a nonprofit autism provider organization that provides ABA services, diagnostic services, summer programs, job skills, feeding therapy, a whole range, a really comprehensive range of services. And so my husband and I founded it about 12 years ago, but we're not qualified to run it. So we've hired staff. We've got almost 50 full-time staff now. And when we when we founded it, there were four staff. There were 3 kids, 3 direct therapists, and a director of the program. And that's all, we founded it on a shoestring for sure. And again, it is a nonprofit center, but we've always served on the board of directors, but we're smart enough to know that we need to hire professionals to actually run the services. So we're still involved, but not day to day.
And this you decided to find because you said earlier in the show that you are a mom to an autistic son, right? You have 3 children, correct?
I do. I have 3 boys. My oldest, Ryan, is severely impaired with autism, and he's now 21 years old. And then I have a middle child who's a freshman in college, and my youngest son is a freshman in high school.
And how is your son, Ryan, today? You said he is probably a level 3 on the autism spectrum. So does he require around-the-clock support?
He pretty much does. He's nonverbal, and he is aggressive at times. That's the really difficult part. Like the nonverbal piece, he's learned how to communicate his basic wants and needs, and we've learned how to communicate with him a little bit, enough. I wish there were more. I'd love to know what he's thinking and feeling all the time. But that part we've learned to get along with. The aggression is tough, and my heart goes out to all families who are struggling with children who are aggressive to the family, who are aggressive to themselves. The self-injury is just heartbreaking to watch.
It is.
So yeah, but anyway, he's made enormous progress. Like there was definitely a time when he was little that we wouldn't dream of going to a restaurant with him. We stopped going to church because he was too disruptive. It was too difficult. I mean, we weren't confined to our homes, but we definitely were not functioning like a normal family. And today, I mean, he's made such immense progress. We take him on vacation, we take him to restaurants, we take him to church, we do all those things. So he's definitely not one of the best outcome responders, but he's made enormous progress that has changed his life immeasurably.
Now, Lorri, when we spoke, you have been on the road nonstop, literally going from state to state, speaking at different functions, and also going to lobby to change the law. And I really think that it's actually very interesting to me, because I do think that there are several states that are more progressive in the world of autism and getting the help and support in place for families and the people themselves. And then I feel like there's a lot of states that are like, whew, gosh, I mean, where are you guys? Are you living in the 1800s? Come on, get with it. We're in 2022. What are you doing on that front right now? I know that for the end of the year, it might be slowing down, but do you see things on the horizon that you plan to go out and change? Because you are a force for good. You are a woman that everyone needs to know.
Well, I mean, I'm one mom, and there were hordes of parents who were part of these advocacy efforts in all the different states. No single person achieved autism insurance reform, for example, by themselves in any state. I didn't achieve it by myself in South Carolina for sure, and nobody did it on their own in any state. But it was an incredible sight to watch, to see all of these parents who didn't know each other come together around this advocacy goal and achieve something amazing. So it's been incredible. And the advocacy continues in every state. There's an agenda, there are priorities in every single state, even some of them that, you and I would probably consider maybe the best states to live in. Massachusetts has always been very progressive and in serving people, not just children with autism, but people with autism across the lifespan. California was way out front with their regional center system, but every state still has issues, and there are improvements.
And so does the healthcare. The healthcare, they have issues. Like pick a United, Cigna, it doesn't matter. It's like they cap you. They cap parents at 20 OT services per calendar year. Are you kidding me? If your provider says, listen, your son needs speech therapy every week for the rest of the year, how are you going to cap a family at 20 visits, really?
And they really shouldn't be doing that anymore. That was very common to see speech, OT, PT, ABA capped either at a certain number of visits or a certain dollar spend per year. Mm-hmm. But we have been very successful in challenging those arbitrary caps.
Yeah.
Because really they violate federal mental health parity law. There's a federal law that's really strong that says, hey, insurance companies, you can't treat mental health conditions differently from the way you treat physical health conditions. And for purposes of this law, autism is considered a mental health condition. And so it's just a matter of, somebody's got to bring it to our attention or bring it to the attention of a lawyer who can enforce that law.
I love this.
My husband is also a lawyer, and he runs his own law firm called the Autism Legal Resource Center. And this is what he does all the time. All he does is help autism families and providers, use those laws to work the way they were supposed to.
Now, is that only specific in South Carolina, or can your husband,
No.
your husband can do it from coast to coast and internationally too? I would imagine, I just sat with a whole group of international lawyers and I wanted to bring that up to them, Lorri. Like, how do you deal with it over there? Because from what I understand, some laws are a little different, obviously, from state to state, but then also internationally. And then so are the services. And believe it or not, we as a country are pretty progressive compared to some of the people that I spoke with at this event.
That is so true. We've had the good fortune to travel and speak to autism audiences internationally a fair amount. And it's really kind of heartbreaking to see how far they are behind in access to services. Even European countries, a lot of them, the access is not there. So, we try to help overseas as much as we can. It's just such a monumental undertaking, right? So many hours of the day, and we're trying to raise our kids at the same time. So, but anyway,
I have a feeling like if anybody can do it, you can, Lorri. And stay with me, because when we get back, we're going to find out some of the upcoming things that CASP has for us in 2023.
Hi, I'm Lorri Unumb. You're watching my mommy, Gina Cavalli, at Life with the Spectrum.
Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli. Sitting with me today is Lorri Unumb, who is the CEO of the Council of Autism Service Providers, otherwise known as CASP. And you're also the founder of the Unumb Center for Neurodevelopment. Thank you, Lorri, again for being on the show.
My pleasure.
And what can we expect from CASP in 2023? I know that there's a big event, I think in like April, right?
Our annual conference is in Tampa Bay the last week in April. And that is open to autism service provider, mostly executives tend to come, the people who are leading these organizations, but it's for the business leaders, the clinical leaders, anyone who's interested in learning more about how to thrive running an autism provider organization and how to provide the best quality services. So that's one of our events. We're also bringing back another event called our Leadership Summit. That will be in September. And that's more for the up and coming leaders in the autism services field, a smaller event. We did it before COVID, and then it kind of fell by the wayside, as so many things did during COVID. Yeah. But outside of our events, we also were really excited that we will be releasing a third edition of the practice guidelines for ABA providers who serve individuals with autism. And that's kind of the Bible for ABA providers about what caseload should look like, what discharge plans should look like, what staffing should look like. And so there's just been a lot of change in the ABA field over the last 12 years. So it's time for a new edition of that. And we've been working for a few years, really, to get that third edition released. And then we're very excited about the accreditation program that we just launched. So we've launched it in 2022, but really 2023 will be its first year of operation. And that is an accreditation for autism provider organizations. This one is specifically for ABA organizations. Okay. So that they can demonstrate to consumers, to health insurance funders, any third-party payers, that they have gotten this seal of approval because they're offering quality care. I'm concerned, and I think a lot of parents are concerned, with so many new players in the market and a lot of investors coming in and seeing a dollar to be made here. We're just concerned about the quality of care. And, these are not widgets we're dealing with. These are children who have one opportunity to make the maximum progress that they can make, to lead them toward a functional life. And, you just can't waste 2 or 3 years and then realize you weren't with a quality provider, because you don't get a do-over.
I love that.
Right? We're investing a lot of effort into this accreditation program, and it's not going to be a stamp of approval that you just easily get as an organization. You really have to show that you're doing it for the right reasons and in the right ways, and it'll be a benefit for consumers.
Would you recommend to parents then actually, let's say for instance, I'm a parent and all of a sudden I hear my kid's got autism and now I got to go this and do this and do this. And oh, wait, I need an ABA therapist. Would you recommend parents actually go to the CASPproviders.org website and look for an accredited ABA therapist in their state?
I couldn't have said it better myself. That is exactly what I hope parents will do. And that's exactly one of the purposes that is served by this new accreditation. It's called the Autism Commission on Quality, or ACQ, the accreditation. And, now when parents are looking for a provider, like if the child was just diagnosed and they're out there looking, they Google autism provider, ABA provider. How do you know?
And a whole list comes up. Yes, a whole list. But you don't know if they're any good or if they're just out to swindle you and they're using kids that are straight out of high school that have absolutely zero professional, backing.
Yeah, even if you're a parent who knows better than to just find use the first provider that comes up, you don't really know the questions to ask when you're new to it, you're new to the diagnosis. You don't know the questions to ask to ascertain if it's a quality provider. So this accreditation is really going to help with that. And I feel like right now, whoever's got the prettiest website maybe is getting the clients, or whoever invests the most in their SEO, right? And that's just not the way to gauge who's going to be a quality provider for the span, however long this child needs help.
So as a parent, you should take the time to obviously do your research. And I think CASPproviders.org is a great place to start. You'll get a list of the members and you'll see who's accredited and who's not. Now, Lorri, before I let you go for the day, give me some last minute advice, food for thought. I know that, you're so engaging as a speaker, as a mom, somebody who's been there, done that. You know the law. What would you say to parents either first finding out about the diagnosis or maybe for a parent who's been living with it for 10 years, say?
Oh, wow. Well, go easy on yourself, for one thing. Like, it's very overwhelming at the beginning, and it gets better. I just think at the beginning, it seems like hope is lost. Again, depending on where your child is and kind of what the diagnosis looks like. But things definitely get better over the lifespan. But invest everything you can in all of the intervention you can for your child. It concerns me now that ABA in particular is kind of being attacked in social media. And ABA was absolutely life-changing for my child and for our whole family.
Us too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that, because, if my son were just being diagnosed now and I were on social media, I wonder if I would know to kind of parse through all the noise about it. So one of my goals is to ensure that good, positive, accurate information about ABA is being disseminated. And that doesn't mean that every child with autism needs ABA or needs this really intensive program of ABA, but for some children, it really changes the entire trajectory of their lives. So I just want to make sure that people know that and are aware of that.
I cannot thank you enough, Lorri. You seem like a wealth of information, and I believe that going over to CASPproviders.org will help your family find the right ABA therapist, accredited people in the field of autism, and you can always reach out to Lorri through there, which is how I found you too, girl.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing to spread all this great information. There's so many people impacted by autism these days, so I really appreciate you getting the word out there for folks.
Well, thank you so much, Lorri, and I hope you have a happy holiday.
Thank you. Same to you, Gina.
Man, I could have just talked to her for days. Talk about somebody who knows what she's doing, right? And so does CASPproviders.org. I wanted to make a mention of that website again. So if you are looking for an autism-related service or provider, you can go there, and to know that they're accredited and that there's people behind them and they're doing right by our kiddos is just huge, right? It's monumentally huge. So as we continue to live life with the spectrum, thanks so much for checking out this episode with Lorri Unumb. And remember, there's episodes for everything. The show really does run the gamut. So you can like, comment, share, subscribe. You'll always get the latest episodes. And we're going to take a little holiday break with Christmas and New Year's coming up. But I promise you that you're going to flip out when you hear who's coming on the show in 2023. I have to keep it a secret. I'm so bad at keeping secrets. So again, thank you so much for tuning into Life with the Spectrum. Until next time, see ya.